This is 100 grams of sugar with 25 grams of coconut oil. And you can see it's pretty much just a solid. Also, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Right, so that's kind of the first one. Second one, which is 100 grams of sugar with 50 grams of coconut oil, so just double the coconut oil in this. Already you might be able to see it's a little more homogeneous. Certainly not as granular. You can see the oil already hitting the craft paper. All right, this is the emulsified. We're just gonna toss it right here. You can see it's much smoother. I mean, look at that. It's got a sheen to it. I mean, that's great. That's why you emulsify your product. I'm really happy with this. Now, if you remember from earlier, I made a mistake while weighing it, but luckily I recorded how much ended up going in. I believe it was, instead of 5% by weight, we ended up closer to like 7.5. So it's about a 50% overage. I think was in my big binder. Yeah. But overall, this is great. I'm really pleased that adding emulsifiers did cause it to cream up a little. Whipping it actually does appear to add some air, which gives it a nice fluffy texture. Becomes almost spreadable versus something like the first one, which has no emulsifiers and is just basically sugar and coconut oil. This one right here is essentially just sugar, especially on the top. Right, but this one you can actually just reach in and grab like a little solid chunk. So I think this is way better. Okay, and so the next question becomes, like, obviously, what if you added the correct amount? How much different does the product feel? I'm not super concerned with that one. The thing I'm more curious on is if you add something like a surfactant now, which I was thinking about 5% by weight as well, how does that change it? Something I'm also probably should start with first is just adding surfactant and not adding the emulsifier. That'd probably be a really good test, but I'm kind of worried it would be just a waste. What would I really learn? Does it bubble? Possibly, but then I think it would be like the 50-gram coconut oil where it's just separated anyway. So I think the emulsifier is that important, where when you're going to start adding additional ingredients, especially a surfactant to an oil, you're going to want that emulsifier so your mixture actually becomes homogeneous versus not. Like something like, that's a great example. Something like this is actually pretty non-homogeneous because if you look at it, you can see almost a gradient of hydration top to bottom as the sugar and oil have essentially separated. and the oil is sitting essentially on the bottom. In the 50-gram coconut oil, a similar separation was observed, but there must have just been so much coconut oil that it was able to sit on the top as well. I would also imagine if you put some sugar on just a pool of coconut oil would probably be a little lighter. Maybe not in small flecks and flakes, but especially if you have a clump of sugar. So I think we move on to adding surfactant, although we also could do something with this, which is like add the colors or lake powders, mica powders, make it colored. We could do that. Another stepping point for a product like this is obviously different types of oils. I mentioned it before. People love almond butter, almond oils. People love shea butters. You have jojoba oil, which is very, very popular. A lot of people love olive oil in anything skincare related. People love that. So I think this product for us is mostly texture, color, and the oil type. If people want something a little more scrubby and abrasive, we can give them a little less hydrated with oil. If they want a more creamy one, we can do that. I'm not sure if in the product line I'd want to offer one that's not emulsified, unless you have a concern about the ingredient, because I think it would help the texture that much. There was such a great improvement off adding just emulsifier. I would be hard pressed not to add it to everything. And the other thing is obviously getting a cost analysis of how much it costs to put together using the ratios I'm using now. And then there's obviously some market research I need to do for what's the average size people purchase when they're getting a sugar scrub. For instance, I'm making it right now, and it's relatively straightforward as long as you have some of the somewhat niche ingredients like the emulsifier. I'm sure you can find substitutions that you might have at home to emulsify your mixture. So it's not like the barrier to making this is high, especially if you're going to make something just easy and normal where you just add sugar and oil and mix it together and then use it. So for me, how do you as a business, or if you're going to offer a sugar scrub, why wouldn't I just make this at home is the question I think I would ask. And so I have to provide you something in this product or the way it's made or presented that's harder to do by yourself at home and that you would be willing to pay to have, whether that's the container it's in, the way you put it on, the product itself, the marketing, as people commonly love to say. I mean, those are all the tools of which we're trying to get this product through. It does seem like a great value add in getting through to people who are more interested in getting a full skincare routine, nightly routine, how to relax at night. That's kind of more where I think we need to be positioning ourselves. Yes, I want my products to be displayed on your bathroom counters because I think they're pretty and beautiful and I think they're eye-catching. But also, there's something to be said for just making products that work without having all of the extra fluff. And I think we've kind of gone beyond that in the last 2 decades of our manufacturing here in the United States. Obviously, I think a lot of the smaller companies do a lot better job of custom making things that are formulated to do what they say they do, but it's just been a mess. I am thinking tube though. I think a tube would be nice. The only concern I have about the current mix is melting. I do worry, like even in this garage where it's maybe, what does this say? 49, it says 26.3 centigrade in here, so what, 80 something? That's definitely a melting temp concern, I think, especially if you're going to ship it around. For instance, at the previous company I worked with, Traditional Nutrients, where we're shipping whipped tallow. Shipping it in a cool shield was a constant debate about, does it help the product resist shipping temperatures? What happens when a product's sitting in a warehouse or storage for who knows how long? Even if they say it's temp controlled, is it really? How do we monitor that? What's the percentage of people who receive a melted jar that we're comfortable with, because it's kind of inevitable? the only way to get around it would be to ship it cold, which is extremely expensive and cost prohibitive. So it's a similar vein where I'm already kind of wondering, how do we protect this product to be stable enough so that if someone gets it after I make it a week, 2 weeks later, it's still the same product? I mean, that sparks another discussion about this, kind of the opposite of what I want to provide people with our bath and spa products. I don't want them sitting on shelves for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, a year. I want them to be made fresh when you order them, although we're running against, if you're gonna join and do like local vendors markets and such, a lot of that appeal is having a big display with products standing there, ready to be purchased. And if I'm basically coming to you and saying that I'm like your local chemist who can make you custom products for your household that you enjoy, how do you bridge that gap between, I don't want to have products sitting on a shelf, I only want to be made to order, but in order to be an appealing, attractive vendor at a community market, having products and things on display is extremely important, right? So that's kind of what I'm wrestling with now. I think it's, obviously the answer is you have to have some of the things on display, a couple bath bombs of each of your lines. I think the fizzy Epsom salts are a great contender just to be bagged and sitting there. That one's not as big to be made super fresh. They're a lot more stable. So, and I think for me, it would be the idea of almost bringing all the ingredients to the marketplace and making them fresh for people right there, which does beg the question for something like the bubble bath powder or a bath bomb or even a shower steamer where you're molding something, or there is a reaction that has to take place that takes time, or there's a long drying stage of overnight, a couple hours. No one's going to want, at least I don't think many people would want to walk up to your booth, see they can make a custom thing, but then have to come back and get it, or wait for it, or have you ship it to them, right? It almost would be more of a getting our name out there and kind of taking the loss of the market itself, and not look at it so much as trying to move individual products every time you're there, but just getting your name out there so people see this is a thing you can do for them. And then if they want to place one online, they're more than welcome. You can talk to them about a special formulation for them, special scents they like, forms they like. If they don't want a dome, they want a cube, we're more than willing to go find a cube mold and do that. I mean, that's the bespoke, small, custom luxury we're trying to make. If you want it, we want to bring that dream into reality, because that's the joy for me personally in product development and research, is finding a new challenge to overcome and finding a unique solution. Maybe sometimes not a unique solution. A lot of the times, you're referencing what other people have done and taking their good ideas and really learning from what they say. Hey, don't do this. Here's why. That's very important. It's almost why I'm doing some of this, as not only for me, but I think this kind of thing is extremely interesting. You can see how someone thinks, you can see how they tackle problems, how they problem solve, and you can really get some great wisdom and advice for if you're doing something similar or offshoot on a tangent. This type of thinking is extremely important, I think, to being successful in other areas of your life. I think financial planning, being able to think critically, is kind of the bread and butter of it, right? If you get scared by numbers and percentages and math, and you get overwhelmed, you're screwed. So you just gotta take it one step at a time, change one variable at a time, and think critically every step of the way, which, it can be tiring, but that's how you get the results you're looking for. So I think moving forward, we just add a little bit of the solid SLSA. 5% by weight's a good starting point. Obviously, we'll cut back the the emulsifier to 5% as well. Hopefully, I don't overweigh that one again. Only other announcements: we're well into April. We have the giveaway April 15th this month. I'm gonna keep it a little larger. We had a pretty slow month, March and early April, which is, we're still small, so that's how it goes. But it would feel weird, I think, to just have 3 or 4 names on there. So everyone who's subscribed and didn't win the previous one, I'll re-roll you in there, because why not? It's my company, we can do that. And anyone who's obviously joined the newsletter Scents will be added. All purchases give you an additional entry. So I'm pretty excited about that. Last year we had Courtney win. She said she wanted some shower steamers whenever she places her next order, or some other free goodies. So I'm pretty excited and hopeful for the market for this product development of the sugar scrub. You know, it's one foot in front of the other. You only lose if you stop.